Okay, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to continue looking at advanced techniques and wrap that up today. Remember, you have an assessment on Academy Central on this. So you will want to pay close attention. It actually turned into a pretty big assessment because there's a lot of techniques that we're looking at. So basically, you are asked 3 questions. The first of which, what movie is this clip from? I do want you to start identifying the movies that I'm showing you because a lot of these movies have historical significance in film history. Then the second thing is what kind of shot is being used in the scene, and then of course what was the impact of the shot, like what kind of emotion did it evoke, thanks to how the director used it. And again, just going back to this quote up here, I really think this epitomizes directing really well. The idea of using the techniques in a way to evoke emotion from the audience. So don't forget about that. I do have some typos on those slides that are printed up, so you'll want to make sure that you correct them. I'll duplicate a slide and then swap an image in, and I forgot to change a couple movie titles. So you want to make sure that you note that because you don't want to put the wrong answer on the quiz tonight. Also, remember, if you did not do it yet, that Singing in the Rain reading is due tomorrow because we're going to start Singing in the Rain, and we're going to have a class discussion on that. Again, if you don't do it, then you'll just go to the library and work on it while I record class, and you have to do that makeup thing. I did podcast yesterday. I'm podcasting now, so if you're doing that assessment tonight and you have no idea what the question is talking about, you can go back through and scrub through. I do upload them to YouTube, so they're much easier to scrub through than some of the other videos that might have been put up there. So that is a way to review without having to listen to my boring voice for 2 more hours. Yes?
When we do quizzes, are we allowed to use notes?
Yeah, I don't really, yeah, you can use your notes. Yeah, I mean, there's not really a way for me to monitor that. And but again, the idea here is, like, when we go to assess Singing in the Rain, I'm going to be expecting you to use more and more, in your analysis, more and more of these tools or technical. So I think that's where it really starts to come out how well you know it. So, questions on that?
Are we ever going to watch any anime?
No. Sorry. The closest we would get to that is Toy Story, just because it's so impactful. But Pixar, if we had time, I would totally do Toy Story and Pixar and all that, because it's kind of, their story is crazy. Yes?
Did you cry at the end of Toy Story 3?
You know, I did no, I did not, but I definitely got a little emotional, and I think it's because I have kids. I think what's interesting about that whole movie is, you know, as an adult, you've experienced all of it, right? You've experienced being a little kid. You've experienced having those toys that are admittedly pretty special to you, and then you grow up, and then you see your kids grow up through that. I mean, when what's the boy's name? When Andy leaves for college, and they kind of walk into his room, and his mother gets all a little choked up about the fact he's leaving. My wife completely, like, she was crying at that point because she was thinking about our boys growing up and whatever, and you know, so that has a lot of different levels of emotion. And it's interesting with Cyrus and Vlad having Down syndrome. There's actually another level of emotion there for us in terms of, like, will they ever experience that? Well, we don't know if they will. They could, but we don't know. So there's lots of different levels. When they were sliding down into the pit or whatever, I was sad, but I wasn't, like, emotional. But when they were playing together, it's very nostalgic. So, and I'm a very nostalgic person.
Cry.
That's why. No. I got emotional, and I get emotional. Like, I will cry at things and that sort of thing. And my wife always kind of makes fun of me when that happens. She's like, "Oh, Derek's crying." And, wow. No, that was just pure unadulterated embarrassment. So, you know. Okay, let's get rolling here. we were right at the end of this particular clip from Citizen Kane. And again, why is Citizen Kane considered so significant in the history of film? I said it yesterday. Can we hit those lights over there as well? Thank you.
It's a pretty good movie.
It is. I think it's a very interesting movie. I think it's a very good movie. But there's a lot of good movies in history, Peter. So let's get a little bit deeper. Yes.
He used a lot of techniques that have been used.
Right. Exactly. I mean, if you watch the whole film, there's all sorts of innovative techniques that he uses. And again, it's also the way he uses it to tell the story. Who directed it and wrote it? Orson Welles did. Okay. So he's the guy that tricked the Eastern Seaboard that there was a Martian attack. Did you guys go over that in U.S. history? Or okay, well, it was like in the 20s or 30s. Yeah, that it's. I skipped it last year too. But basically, I think it was in the 1930s. Maybe was it 30s? He gets on the radio, and it's just a kind of a standard. I've listened to it. It's just this jazz music is playing. The news chimes in, and then all of a sudden, the news starts to break in of mysterious reports of what was happening, in terms of it looked like there was an alien attack, a Martian attack, etc. It was based off of the War of the Worlds, which is kind of a classic story. And what happened was most people missed his little thing. At the beginning, he kind of introduces it and basically saying that this is a story, this is not real. But if you turn on your radio right in the middle of it, it sounded like a regular radio broadcast. So people thought that we were under attack. So it's not all people, some people did. So he's a very good storyteller. So those are some reasons why this movie is popular. What were some things from this clip that we saw? What was the main technique that we saw here? Dissolves. And what kind of technique is that? Is that cinematography? Is it editing? Is it screenwriting? Editing, very good. Is how those pieces were put together. And actually, when you looked at this, he also used dissolve in a really unique way of kind of transporting you from outside to inside. He used different lenses. He used a fisheye lens, actually, when the nursemaid kind of comes in and you're looking through the broken globe. So there's all sorts of distortion there that kind of gives it an eerie feeling. So let me move to the next one here. This is called assembly editing, okay? And there's a smash cut in here as well at the end. This is from the movie Psycho, which of course is an Alfred Hitchcock movie, and he is considered the master of suspense. Assembly editing is where you assemble a bunch of different cuts together to give an idea of what is going on. So it's not a continuous shot, okay? But it's you have enough different shots to give the audience an idea of what is either going to happen, what is happening, or etc. So another example is the shower scene in Psycho when the woman is stabbed to death. There's like an insane number of shots. I want to say like 70 to 90 shots just in that one scene that he assembles together. And the camera doesn't sit there and you don't just see someone stabbing her. It's all these different cuts all over the place. You obviously get the idea that she's being killed right now, okay, but it's through assembly editing, okay? So this is a different scene from Psycho. Of course, there's other techniques in terms of low angle right here, which of course gives that house a sense of foreboding and what have you. But a police officer is walking into the house to see what is going on. So, okay, all right. So there is an attack here, just to forewarn you. So, you can see, you don't watch him walk all the way up the stairs. Or maybe you do, I don't know. Are we? Come on, Alfred, don't make me look bad. Oh, he is. Yeah.
Yeah, so he didn't walk.
Okay, well, you don't see him. It jumps from the end of the stairs to the porch.
That's good editing, Alfred.
This is Psycho. course, music is key in the suspense in this as well. There's 3 different options. There you go. It's a little thing at the end. Okay, so what did we? Did I see you jump? Okay, so do we? Obviously, the music is very iconic. How many of you heard that song before? Olivia, are you paying attention to what? Okay, so how many of you heard that before? Okay. All right, so obviously that's a very typical, very iconic. That music in of itself creates that tension. What else created the suspense in the scene? Yes.
Like the shot of just the door,
Right, exactly. All right. So again, he assembles all these different clips together to give you that suspense and that the fact that this imminent attack is coming. What else was interesting about the scene? Or striking about it? I don't know if that's a pun or not, but it gets really close. Yes. The attacker. Yeah, you don't, which makes it even creepier, right? It's actually Mother. It's the woman. But no, you have to watch the movie. Okay, so don't tell your parents I told you to go watch Psycho. Okay, that's all right. So, and that's on the web. So, what else? Go ahead.
The shot where they're going down the stairs, the camera's not moving just side to side. It's like,
Oh, you're talking about when he's falling down the stairs? Yes. Now that's a very interesting shot. Okay, that he uses, and again, it feels a little fake, right? Like it's like, and again, this is 1960s, technology and that sort of thing are still developing. But that sort of shot where you're kind of following him all the way down the stairs, of course, Hitchcock is bringing out what his, the surprise on his face, and obviously he got slashed across the face with the knife, and that sort of. So it makes it again, I think, a little bit freaky. Yeah, but he uses a lot of that kind of stuff to kind of really capture the emotion on a face. And what's interesting is cinematographers and directors use those techniques all the time today. But we'll talk a little bit more about that in the future. Do you guys get the idea of assembly editing? Okay, it's a little bit ambiguous, and then the smash cut was right when the person came out with a knife and stabbed, and it went right to his face. So you see exactly what was happening there. Okay, some editing. Okay, when you edit, I kind of went right into the actual techniques of editing to kind of get some clips, but I also want you to remember these principles of editing. All right, because I think, again, this will help you to analyze editing a little bit more effectively. Like, why is a film considered to be well edited? And this goes back to Russian cinema, which has a heavy impact actually on the American cinema. But you can edit to create contrast between two things. All right, so one classic way to do that is you have a shot of someone who is poor in poverty, and then you cut to someone who is wealthy. Okay, and so what brings that contrast out is not just the shots, but the fact that you literally cut the film and joined it together so you go from poor to rich. Okay, parallelism is a little bit more subtle, where you kind of have a common denominator between what seem to be two unrelated scenes. So like, for example, let's say that you have a shot of a fishing boat, they're fishing, all right, and then it cuts to a family eating fish and chips. Okay, so obviously the fish are the focus and the common denominator there, and that parallelism is brought out as a result of that. Symbolism is your editing brings out some sort of, obviously, symbolism. So like an example might be one of the classic examples is you have strikers outside of a factory and they're being shot down by the police. And then it cuts to cows in a slaughterhouse being slaughtered. So it's like these strikers are being mowed down like cattle or killed off like cattle. So you might bring that piece out. Simultaneity, okay, is where you kind of have two different events going on at the same time, and a lot of time it's to create suspense and intrigue. We see this a ton today. Leitmotiv, okay, is basically where you set up a particular shot or a particular composition of a shot, and it's repeated over and over again to give you an idea of what is about to come. All right, so that's them in a nutshell. Let's watch some clips. Although I have failed you, I did not find a clip on symbolism. I ran out of time last night. But I think the symbolism piece is pretty obvious. You know what? I will show you through example. Okay? So this is not from the movie Psycho, although that roast beast looks like it might be from the movie Psycho. This is from the movie called Doubt. All right, and it's about life in a convent at a Catholic school in Brooklyn, New York. I think it's a superb film. The acting is tremendous. You have Meryl Streep in it. You have I knew I was going to do this. You have what's his name?
Who else do they have?
No, not Nicolas Cage. What'd you say? Yeah, Philip Seymour Hoffman. I always forget his name for some reason. Philip Seymour Hoffman. There's a scene in which him and her are just. It's tremendous. But this is an example of editing, and it creates contrast. So I'm just going to let it roll. What just happened there?
Oh, look at that. It's the face.
Peter.
Wow. Oh, that's the face. It's the smack. The guy's got like smack.
Hold up. Sorry. I don't know. Okay, here we go.
Pop, pop, pop. I heard elephants.
You're wicked.
Okay, this scene is really out of context. You're not going to understand all of it. But again, it's more about seeing what the editing does.
What, the mother or the daughter?
This movie?
I never met
Yeah,
the
a couple
daughter.
years ago. It was up for like 7 Academy Awards. 4. So you see the obvious contrast there, right? You have the priest, and I'm assuming it's the cardinal of the diocese. You have them, they're sitting there, they're having a great time, they're drinking wine. Move to the next slide since that's distracting. And then it cuts to all the nuns of the school, and they're drinking milk, and they're in complete silence. So, and that contrast is very purposeful in the whole context of the movie, if you were to watch the whole piece. Does that make sense? Did you see? I hope you saw contrast there. Okay, now this is called parallelism. This is from the movie Schindler's List. How many of you have seen this movie? Just one or two. I believe it won an Oscar for Best Editing. The movie's incredible. It's obviously very, very difficult to watch because it's about the Holocaust. But this is one of Steven Spielberg's best films, I think, because it deals with such difficult subject matter. It's about the Holocaust, and again, acting in it is superb. But editing is used very, very well. And so this is an example of parallelism. You're going to hear Schindler, and in the movie, Schindler is somebody who actually starts a factory and uses Jews from a local concentration camp to run his factory. As he gets to know these Jews, he starts to save them, and he wants to save them. And so he creates this list, hence Schindler's List, of Jews to save. And one way he is able to do that is to bribe German SS officials or German officials. So this is him trying to get the supplies together necessary to do that.
box teas are good, coffee, pate, kielbasa sausage, cheeses, beluga, caviar. And of course, who could live without German cigarettes? As many as you can find. Some more fresh fruit. Real rarities, oranges, lemons, pineapples. I need several boxes of Cuban cigars, the best. And dark unsweetened chocolate, not in the shape of ladyfingers. The chunk of chocolate, big as my hand. You sample as wine tastings. You're going to need lots of cognac, the best. Hennessy, Dom Perignon champagne. Get Les Ballons sardines, and try to find nylon stockings.
Okay, so did you see the parallelism as he was talking in a separate, basically what seems like a separate scene almost? There's this overlay of the different events happening of what he said wanted to happen. So when he was like, we need sardines, it showed a shot of someone pulling up a railroad tie and pulling sardines out of the ground. We need the best cognac, Hennessy. It was probably a little hard to see over here. But you can see, as he's saying that word, you can see a bottle of Hennessy in a secret compartment in the back. So it makes the scene a bit more intriguing, yes. Because it was considered contraband by the Germans at the time. So wartime, in general, you have that because of rationing and that sort of thing. And the Germans tend to take... This was set in Poland as well, where you don't want the Jews to have anything of, of value. Yes?
They made it, but they didn't... They made it to be black and white, right?
Yeah, he shot it all in black and white, which makes it even more stark. He uses color in there as well. There's a little girl in a red dress that actually reminds me of going way back to actually the Great Train Robbery and that sort of thing, because when the Great Train Robbery uses color, there's a version that does, or even The Birth of a Nation from 1912, they use color. It looks very similar, so the influence of even those films.
Why do you think they use black and white?
He used black and white just, I think, to create a more starkness to the film. I think that's a big part of it. It's set in 1940, late 30s, 40s. Kind of gives it that feel, but I think also it creates some opportunities, like using the red dress, and again, like some of the characters, like Ralph Fiennes is like the head SS guy, and he looks, his acting, he does not come across as human. Like he's like kind of glassy-eyed and completely emotionless, and the fact that he is in black and white, I think, even brings that out a little bit more. So, questions on parallelism? Okay, symbolism, don't have a clip for you. This is not symbolism. But unless you have questions on what symbolism is, I'm going to move to the next one. Okay, simultaneity, is again where you have two events going at the same time. So what you have here is, this is from the movie The Lovely Bones, which again is a recent film. But basically, this woman is in a man's house discovering something, and she's not supposed to be there, all right? And you suddenly realize that there's somebody else in the house. So he's in another part of the house while she's upstairs. You think. Or she could be down here. Okay. So, huh? Yeah, it's supposed to. Yeah, it's supposed. I haven't seen it, but yeah, it's supposed to be. I mean, the premise of the story is that I think someone's daughter was killed, and they suspect that he was the one, but they haven't been able to prove it. So that's why I think she sees the lock of hair, and I think that's the basic premise of the story.
Yeah.
So
And she's like watching from heaven.
that's right. There was some I remember seeing that.
And she has a sister. Is a sister knows?
Okay.
And she tries to take care of it. They don't listen.
Oh, okay.
That's what the mom found.
Okay. Thank you.
I haven't read the book, but I've read it just sure.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So okay, gotcha. Yeah, that's right. It is based off of a book. So that's simultaneity. Did you guys understand that? Okay. So it's in two different parts of the house, but and again, it creates this tension because you're going to want to know when they meet together. Are we playing with our phone in the back? Are you picking up what I'm laying down? Okay. Yeah, I'm into technology and I love it, but that whole multitasking thing, complete myth. Okay. Le motif, okay, and I'm over exaggerating because I don't know if I'm saying it right. Okay, but again, it's where the director sets up a particular shot that usually tells the viewer that something is going to happen because they use that same shot over and over again in the film. So Jaws is a classic example, which again is a fascinating movie to look at from a production perspective. It was like Spielberg's first film. Basically, everybody thought he was going to be done after this film because it was going to fail so bad. He was using hydraulic sharks that were failing in the water. The crew was calling the movie flaws because things kept going wrong. Kind of a classic, very George Lucas, Star Wars-esque kind of deal. But it turns out to be a huge smash. So this is what does Spielberg use to kind of give you the sense that there is a shark attack? There's the famous music. Dun-dun, dun-dun, dun-dun. Okay, I'll stop. And then there is also the fact that you see the point of view of what? The shark. Yeah, Pipit, I think, got eaten by a shark because he's not out there anymore. So now you know, right, what's going to happen. Probably. And we're stopping there because it freaks me out. Okay, so no, I'm not going to watch somebody get chomped by a shark because I like going in the ocean because I grew up out east. Okay, this was like the late 70s. Yeah, yep, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, this week at Jacques Cousteau and all sorts of National Geographic. Yeah, so and they use footage of actual great white sharks but anyway. So do you guys understand that? So that sort of perspective is used over and over in the film so that you know what's going to happen. It's used at the beginning of the film as well. Okay, so I want to make sure I get through this today. So let's go through a few more techniques. Camera position. Okay, this is a scene from A Touch of Evil. Again, this is an Orson Welles movie, all right, and this opening shot is one of the most famous opening shots in film history, especially because of its use of a crane shot. And a crane shot is where you literally have a camera on a crane and it can go up in the air and you can get kind of an aerial view of what's going on. This also combines a tracking shot as well, and a tracking shot is where you just put a camera on like a dolly and it basically moves along that track. So if I want to do a tracking shot of you and you were like the jury, it's a really typical one. Like I could just do a tracking shot of the whole jury so I can kind of see what your faces look like. Okay, so anyway, this also has high angle as well. Mise-en-scene is also another shot in here where basically it's one continuous take. All right, it used to mean just what the sets look like. Now it means that you have one continuous take. Hitchcock did this. There's a movie called Rope. The whole movie is one take. He had to switch out the reels one time He ran out of film, literally. And so what he did was he zoomed way in on someone's shoulder or something like that, so it just looked like, blurry picture. And then he swapped out the film there and just continued taking. So it's kind of fascinating. So here's the shot. There's some music added in here, but it's a really well constructed scene. So obviously that's a bomb. So we haven't gotten to the crane shot yet, but now we're tracking along. See a little handheld-esque in there. Now we're into the crane shot. So of course now you're wondering when the bomb's going to go off. Right? And you're still wondering, when is that bomb going to go off? Are these poor people going to get caught in the blast? So now you're into the tracking shot here. Maybe here.
You folks are American citizens?
I am, yes.
Where were you born, miss?
Mrs.
What?
Philadelphia.
The name is Vargas. Hey, Jim! See who's here? Sure, Mr. Vargas. Out on the trail of another dope ring? Out on the trail of a chocolate soda for my wife. Your wife?
Barely a bride.
So now you know he's a police officer.
Did I get through?
Not him, but the other
About
guy.
how you cracked that Grandy business.
Yeah, we hear you caught the big boss. Only one of them. The Grandys are a big family. Good night.
No purchases, Mr. Lineker.
Hey, I got this.
You're American citizen, miss?
No, I got this ticking noise.
Yeah, okay.
No, really, this
Good night.
ticking noise in my head.
Mike, do you realize this is the very first time we've been together in my country?
Do you realize I haven't kissed you in over an hour?
Oh, Charlton Heston. Okay, so do you see how the crane shot kind of created this kind of tension? You didn't know when that was going to happen. All right. Okay, low angle we've talked about. No, past there. Sorry, Joker. Moving on. Okay. High angle, I'm going to skip this one because you got a sense of what high angle was. All right. I'm going to actually talk a little bit about camera motion. Handheld is a really famous one. This is from Citizen Kane, and I think this is another example of why it's considered so good. All right, because you actually see them use a handheld technique that you see used in movies all the time today. So right there, obviously the camera is a little bit shaky. All right, it's supposed to be, it gives you the sense like there's the paparazzi or somebody kind of, trying to sneak a glance at what's going on with Charles Kane, who was such a motivating figure. So, pan is another one that's used a lot. Okay, this is from the scene of Dances with Wolves with Kevin Costner, who's actually made a bit of a resurgence lately. And of course, in this scene, you're going to see how Pan creates a little bit of a anticipation of what might happen.
Is this the last one?
So it's set in the Civil War. He's been shot in the leg.
At least there's no gangrene.
Well, there will be if it doesn't come off soon.
Well, I can't saw if I can't keep my eyes open. I'm sorry. Let's coffee up. He can wait a few minutes.
So what's going to happen to him? Yeah, his leg. This is the pan. So that's a pan shot, okay, of all the different tools that are being used to amputate legs, which you get that reaction right there, like, I can't watch this. And he feels the same way. He's like, I am not going to be like that guy. I'm not going to let those tools be used on me. And so you start to feel for the actor, and it makes sense. He makes the decision why he's going. It makes sense. The decision he makes, it makes sense why he makes that decision when she runs away and off a horse and tries to kill himself. Yes.
Okay, you know how we were watching the Citizen Kane movie and how it, like, went at the gate? Is that considered a pan? Or is pan always?
No, that I mean, you could say maybe it's a pan up. Yeah, because it wouldn't be a tilt up. But yeah, it combines the element of pan there. But the way that that's the use of camera motion, that's not the use of editing. Okay, so there's a difference there. Okay, tracking shot, I've already talked about this. This is a movie that came out in the 90s, and it completely imitates A Touch of Evil, that opening scene we just saw. It was actually kind of a tribute to it. Okay, lighting, obviously lighting, even if it's black and white, can really influence how you perceive things. It can change your mood. It can help you understand that you're watching a movie from a different time, like Schindler's List. We talked about black and white. You can have orange and yellows, which are warm, open, inviting, like in the Land of Oz. Cold and gloomy from The Matrix. Overexposed, you're in a desolate, post-apocalyptic world in the Book of Eli. So here is an example of lighting that I want to show you. This is from the movie Apocalypse Now. All right, and basically this character here, not Charlie Sheen. What's his father's name? Martin Sheen. Martin Sheen's character has gone deep into the jungles of Vietnam to find Marlon Brando, who is kind of this crazy guy who has led soldiers into the jungles, kind of like this rogue force, and he's supposed to go and kill Brando. So obviously watch the use of lighting here.
It smelled like slow death in there. Malaria.
And this is called Rembrandt lighting, where you really bring out light versus dark. There's a serious contrast in the use of it.
Where are you from, Willard? I'm from Ohio, sir.
So Brando's over there on the right.
Were you born there? Yes, sir. Whereabouts? Toledo, sir.
So you can't even see him really right now, of course, which gives him this sense of
How far are you from
that
the
he's
river?
a bit on the loony side, which I use that term loon. Okay, we will pick up here. Still complete the quiz tonight. All right, there is a question on this Rembrandt lighting. You don't have to worry about that, but we've done most of it. I'll wrap this up tomorrow.